Pike County Fiscal Court called to order. Have a roll call with members, Madam Clerk. Present.
Magistrate Murphy. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson isn't here. Magistrate Harris.
Here. We have a quorum. We now have Pledge of Allegiance led by Magistrate Murphy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It should be reversed.
I took something out of your packet. I'll give it back to you. The UMG thing, I'll give it back to you.
This is a special call meeting. We can only take up what's on the agenda today. We was hopeful that we wouldn't have to have a meeting on November the 2nd, but we understand that we have to. And Jeannie, would you explain to us of why we have to have that meeting?
November 1st, isn't it?
Frankie, can you answer that question for us?
At the last court meeting, they asked me to bid out the gas line, digging the gas line at the Scott Fork Park. And that bid went into the paper on October 21st. So it has to be advertised for 10 days before we could have the bid opening, which worked out real well that we could have the bid opening the day before the court meeting. So we're going to have the bid opening on the 31st, and we have to award the bid. It was scheduled to award it at the November 1st meeting. So
Kinzer Drilling has informed us that they have to certify the welder, and they will not certify no other welder. And I think it goes back to sole source, as the county attorney stated. Am I correct, Mr. County Attorney?
I'm not aware of what you're talking about now, Judge. But you know, I've always thought as a practical matter it was a sole source because of the location of the well, but we've bid it out now, so we'll just award it next. Might as well go ahead and go through with it on
award it since it's gone out. If the project was on, keep the project on schedule. Ms. Carlton, will that keep the project on schedule?
It will keep the project on schedule. They will be placing the heating and air conditioning units, which are gas powered today, and so they need for the building to have the connection made as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. So there will be a meeting on November the 2nd.
First.
Pardon?
November 1st.
I'm sorry. Make sure we get this date right. November the 1st, the clerk has informed me. November the 1st. Time, Madam Clerk?
5:30.
5:30, November the 1st. The purpose of this meeting today was for the purpose of solving the wastewater treatment problems that we've had over to the county property at the county garage and at the daycare center. They've been considerable meetings. They've been a lot of work put into trying to solve this problem, and we have some people with us today that Judge Hayes will introduce. We want to thank the health department for their cooperation and understanding of the situation that we have over there, and we certainly want to comply with the Kentucky statutes and the guidelines as the best we can. I think that our employee is when is Damus? When is he taking this coming week? When he takes a training and then takes a test? Marley Coleman.
He's actually in the class today, and he'll take the test on Friday.
Okay, Marley's in the class today and has a test on Friday. So hopefully we'll have our own person to do that. So hopefully after we know the cost, if we put a new unit in over there, we know what the cost was. It was discussed in your packet at the last meeting. And We also know what the cost was projected to be, but we brought all the parties together, and as Magistrate Dotson has asked the question that we asked, why can't could not we use a fusion system? So when we checked into it, we found out we could. So so that means that we not only do we have the two that's been placed in by the Water District with permission from the State Health Department, but that we've now been given permission to have the third one, which means they can move this project forward in your district over there in the future by these happenings. So Judge Hayes, you brought these parties together for 2 or 3 meetings, and you all worked diligently on the problems that we had over there, and I asked you to give a report for the court.
Well, that, Judge, was the duty that I was charged by you in this court to do at our last meeting on Tuesday, is to come up with a viable economic solution which would resolve the sewage treatment plant problem at the Johns Creek Daycare Center. I have put in your folders a timeline of wastewater treatment plant management. I'm not going to take the time to go through that in detail. Suffice it to say that we began our experience, our relationship with Mountain Water District back on October the 1st, 1986. With an agreement that they would operate 9 of these wastewater treatment plants, which were owned at that time by the Fiscal Court. And you can see the timeline. Not much happened for the next 14, 15 years there, and then we began to have some issues which arose. As I say, there were initially 9. It must have got down to 4 because we added the Johns Creek we added another plant, suffice it to say, and there are now 5 plants. But we've been notified by Mountain Water that they no longer wish to maintain and service these plants, and there's probably good reason, even though we pay them, and I'm not, it's in here, how much a month is, well, Rhonda's gone, but it's, we pay them a fee each month to do that. And I think it's in their timeline somewhere. I don't remember the exact amount of money, but Rhonda can tell us. I'm sorry, would you repeat that, please? $3,097.27. Yeah, if you'll turn your mic on, maybe did the court hear what we do pay? All right.
$3,097.27 on May 18th, 2001.
Okay, and that is a monthly fee for these 5 plants, and that's our situation. But as I say, the Water District has a right to terminate this agreement. They want to do so. Now, I think in part that was brought about by the terrible condition of the sewage treatment plant over to Johns Creek Daycare Center. So that's a little bit by way of background on that. We knew about this for some time, and we've been putting off the Water District on taking over the operation of these plants, in part to get Marley Coleman certified to do the maintenance on them so that we can do that in-house, but also to determine what we need to do about Johns Creek Daycare Center. Now, Roland, you may remember when Johns Creek Daycare Center went into existence. I understand maybe it's back during Judge Gibson's administration that got started. Do you know?
No, actually, it was under Judge Dameron.
I think it's
Judge Dameron, all right. And so it's been over there some time, and I will tell you this. It serves right now approximately 40 children on a daily basis, so it's a significant operation. There is really, it's a critical situation with that sewage treatment plant. It is nothing but junk, and matter of fact, if we replace it, the advice we've had from the engineers is just to crush it in place, cover it, and be done with it. There's not even salvageable. And the real concern is that the Division of Water would come in and start fining, and I think that's in part why Mountain Water wants to do away with that and the other 4. By the way, the other 4 are in pretty good shape with the exception of the Hardy Park sewage plant. Magistrate Harris, I understand that one's aging, and we are going to have to address that in the fairly near future. It's just not as critical right now as the Johns Creek daycare. But the other three are relatively new. If you're wondering where those are, as I said, the daycare center, Johns Creek, the Johns Creek Fire Department, that one's okay, I'm told. The Belfry Courthouse has one. It's in decent, this is the way it was described to me by the people who've been servicing them. It's in decent condition, but it will need work soon. The Dorton Community Park chick, it's okay, it's relatively new. And the Hardy Park, again, that was described almost as junk, okay? So, that's where we were when I went to work on Wednesday after the court meeting on Tuesday. I called a meeting of Damus Ramey, Mike Lyons, and Hatch, road commissioner, people who were familiar with construction techniques, and a whole lot more so than I was. And I called Jody Hunt, who had given us some earlier estimates of what it would cost to replace that sewage treatment plant. You have in your packet his estimate. It's there's an email front, and then there's 3 pages. The cheapest estimate or opinion of probable costs that we got was $55,000. That was to replace this existing 1,500 gallon per day treatment plant with a 1,500 gallon treatment plant. You see the new plant there, estimated cost of that was, of it in itself, $35,000. And you'll see some engineering costs there. That's because if we replace that, we've got to submit a certified design of the replacement to the Division of Water, which regulates these sewage treatment plants. And it has to be done by someone certified to do it, and so that's why all that's in there. But as you see, the cheapest one to replace with an existing same size, $55,000. The next one would have tied in the maintenance garage there at Ford Mountain. And you're looking on your computer screens, the court is, at a overhead shot of that. That maintenance garage is down at the right-hand bottom. The daycare is the building up above that right there that we zoomed in on. Now, when I started this, there was some discussion that our plant at the maintenance garage was defective and that we had to do something about that. Damus Ramey informed me, fortunately, and the good news was, he said, look, we've resolved that problem. We don't have to worry about a system that will take care of that. There was a stopped up or blocked pipe, which we found, and now that septic system is functioning well. Is that correct, Damus?
Yes.
Okay. So that was out of the equation. We were only looking at the daycare center then. We initially looked at this cost, and we knew $55,000 was cost prohibitive. We just did not have that kind of money anywhere within our budget to do this. So we looked at a used plant. A person in this county had a 8,000 gallon per day used plant that, and it was offered to us for $15,000. Now, at our first meeting in discussing this with Jody Hunt from Summit Engineering, he was of the opinion that this was too big for the purposes. It did not have enough gallons per day to make it operate properly. And so that was not feasible. But even at that, it was $15,000 without any other figure going on it. It was a couple of years old. These tanks require fairly constant maintenance. They have to be painted every couple of years. And we would have ended up with a used tank and I don't know what. So anyway, it would not work. It was too big. And so you see that we're back to the problem. We don't have $55,000. And so we began to look at other solutions. Commissioner Lyons suggested a holding tank and with an alarm, and he could pump it every 6 months, and that would have been a really cheap system to go to. However, by that time, we'd gotten Zora May with the Pike County Health Department, kind enough to interrupt her schedule and come and join our meeting, and she said that you could not put a holding tank in there of sufficient size to be contrary to law. So that solution
that we thought was good before Zora got there. It could not be worked. It just would not be approved. And so that was out the window. So then where do we go? Zora then suggested, and I don't know all the correct terminology. You all excuse me for that. But this fusion sewage treatment system. Now we've got a representative from the company here, Wes Combs, who can answer questions about that. Zora told me that it was in place and approved by the health department in 2 areas of Pike County. That was on Rattlers Creek, and I forget where the other one was. Zora's here, and she can answer that, and it's working well. Those are systems, those are treatment plants that go in where you can't put anything else. Now, prior to all this coming up, Zora had been over there and said you cannot put a septic system in. There's not room. You just can't, the soil won't accommodate standard septic. So the holding tank was out, the septic system was out, the treatment plant was out as not being economically viable, and so we began to look at the fusion. Now, this was on Wednesday, this meeting, and Mike said it had this fusion system, and they can explain the details, have to have what I would call laterals, a bed that this treated water goes out into. Now, I am told that once it's treated by this plant, this type of plant, it will be as clean as the wastewater that comes out of Pikeville's plant after it's treated. So, but it does have to have some fairly extensive beds, and the problem is, as you look at the daycare center, and the arrow is pointing to that, behind it there, next to the high wall, there simply is not room to put those beds. Commissioner Lyons then, with a can-do attitude and spirit, suggested that we didn't have to have the parking area. Now, as you're looking at the screen, that's the area to the right where the cursor is, and there's cars parked there, that we could use that for these beds, rock beds or laterals or whatever you want to call them. And so that's no problem. By the way, we did discover that there's a water line going across there. Zora pointed that out, and that can be moved with very little trouble and expense. So Zora had to go over and test the soil there. We had two holes dug to her specifications and where she wanted them. And now, all this happened on Wednesday. She was going over the next day, Thursday. If you all remember, it rained cats and dogs on Thursday, and Zora didn't feel like she needed to go over there on Thursday, and don't blame her. So we didn't get the soil tested until Friday. Friday, she tested the soil, and when she did that, then we knew what the parameters would have to be for this fusion system. Now, we found that out on Friday. We had another meeting on Monday. We didn't bring in Summit, didn't need them anymore, but we brought in Grondo Potter, Zora May, and again our 3 commissioners, Damus, Ramey, and Mike Lyons, and Hatch, and they all came in, and we discussed this system, and we can do this. We received a quote on it. It's from UMG. You have that in your packet of $10,731.44. And let me say about this system, the sole exclusive franchise of the system, I learned, although I understand it was mentioned in the last court meeting, I had stepped out of the room, is UMG. If you get one of these systems, it has to be purchased through them. If they sell it, they have to install it, and they maintain it. The cost is minimal compared to what we've been charged, Judge. Before, it's $50 a month to maintain this system and test it and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, we got this price, and you'll see on the invoice that what we're being charged for is $250 a day to supervise installation by our folks. It would be under their direction, control, and supervision. We would use our equipment, our personnel. We would dig whatever holes and ditches and beds that need to be done. Hatch estimated that gravel cost to fill these beds would be about $1,500. So that would be in addition to that $10,731.44 figure you've seen. And then whatever the labor cost would be that we're going to do in-house, but none of that would go out. So we've got the people to do that. And that's pretty much where we left it. We got this figure yesterday when we had our second meeting. It was, I did the best I could do given the 4 days, Judge, that I had to do it in. I've checked with Rhonda James, our finance officer, and she tells me there is money in the budget to install a system that would cost less than $15,000. And so, Judge, I think I've tried to cover all the bases. I do have Zora May here. I asked her to be here. She volunteered to be here, actually. And Judge, we have Wes Combs, who is with the manufacturing company. You've got a book in your file from this company. That's Claris. Claris is based at Claris Environmental. They're based in Louisville. And it's his books on the fusion treatment. So, Judge, I'm going to turn it back over to you if the court wants to hear from the Claris representative or Zora May concerning this. I guess they could better answer any questions than I concerning this particular plant, which we feel meets the needs of what the court charged me with the duty of doing.
Judge Hayes, I noticed that the price has not raised since the 2010 flood because we looked at these systems at that time for Harles's Creek, and that's unusual that during that months that they've not been a raise in the price because it was a little bit less than $11,000, Ms. May, if I remember when we looked at them for up there. But are there any questions? If you have any questions for Wes Combs, who is with this Claris Corporation, he'll be glad to come around. You have any questions? Come around to the podium over here, please.
How you doing today?
Doing good. Can you hear me?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. I do have a couple of questions. I'm not so much concerned about the system. I know a little bit about the system. I'm more concerned with the accessibility of parts and whether or not the county could be the one to do this rather than UMG.
Okay.
Is this something that the county could contract with you directly to do?
Are you talking about the maintenance of the system?
Or purchasing the system or parts?
At this moment, not the purchase of it, but at this moment they could do the maintenance of it, and we could train them to do that.
Okay, well, why not the purchase of it?
Well, at this moment we have an exclusive distributorship with UMG for the sale of these systems.
Okay, and
I think somebody mentioned that a little while ago.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about that previously as well, and you know my concerns with that.
Yes.
If we're going to, in this county, if we're going to look towards these fusion systems as a source of treatment for our sewage, it bothers me that we have a sole source, a single entity that we have to go to get these. And this is the same entity that has been running Mountain Water for the last several years, and that we have requested their records under the Open Records Act, and they've refused to give them to us.
Magistrate Harris.
Judge, I know you're aware of that.
I said I don't think he would be aware of that.
He's aware of it. He's aware of it. And this is something that concerns me as a magistrate.
Sure.
Is there a way for you to cancel that sole source agreement with UMG?
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible to
and
do
let
that.
us buy that directly from you.
There's some contractual obligations that we have to consider when doing that, and there's some time intervals that we have to consider also when doing that, which I won't go into a lot of detail at this point, but it is possible that we could do that.
Okay. I don't have an objection to the system, Judge. I think the system is a good system from what I've read about it. It's just what bothers me is the fact that we have to buy it from UMG, and then you said right now the parts and everything have to come through UMG. It's a sole source. We have no way to I mean, we don't know what the parts are costing them. We don't know, we don't have any information, and they've refused to give us that information.
The our problem is this today, that we have the letter from the attorney for the water district, Mr. Stratton, and our time runs out the last day of this month. And that's our situation today. So we need to try to resolve this serious problem we've got over there so we won't be fined by the Division of Water, and they have a right to assess a fine. They don't have to go through a court procedure. And we just need to get this problem solved. If this problem can be solved, it'd have to come later. And as we, in my opinion, as you do the project over in Peter Creek, if there, I guess your legal counsel would be the one that would have to advise you on what could be done. Am I correct, Mr. County Attorney? Their legal counsel would have to be the one that would take action?
Well, that would be a legal issue between UMG and them at this point on whether they can get out of a contract or not. I have not seen the contract, the exclusive franchise. I don't know whether it's for a certain number of years or what the details are. I would not get involved in that at all. That would be their counsel.
Can you tell us about that agreement, what the terms of that agreement are?
I can, but I honestly would rather not at this moment.
See, which is even more reason, Judge, for me not to want to go along with it.
It's not that I'm trying to hide anything. It's just it's something that's really between us at this point, and I don't think that maybe right now is a good time to talk about it.
Okay.
I would be glad to come back at a later date and discuss it.
The court knows my concerns and how my vote is going to be, and it's not because of the system, it's just because of the circumstances.
And I appreciate your position. We do also at Claris appreciate your position and understand
I think we certainly want to, as Magistrate Harris said, he certainly wants to know before we move into the Peter Creek project. But to solve this, anybody else got any statement or question?
Judge, I do.
Attorney.
The price we're looking at, $10,000. Now that is for the installation, or are we going to do that ourselves? Or
I have not seen the final paperwork on any of the numbers, so I don't know to answer that.
I can answer that, Master. If you'll notice there's the 2-day inspection of $250 per day. That would go to UMG to tell us exactly where and how to do all this work ourselves. That also includes the first year's maintenance agreement of $50 a month, which is $600. So the price of the unit itself was $9,631.44. We think we can save, talking with all concerned, quite a bit of money by doing this in-house. You notice there's no engineering fees there. That's because this doesn't go through Division of Water. This is a health department, and this was designed and all planned in accordance with what Zora May's criteria was. So I hope I've answered your question. I don't know.
I think you have, John. You've done a good job doing this research. So what we're doing is just purchasing the system and installing it ourselves. Is that
That's
correct?
what it looks like to me. Yeah. What I just saw was the unit costs, and then I saw like a oversight cost of 2 days from UMG. I think for $500, and then there's the maintenance cost, which was the next line item. And what I heard earlier was that you guys would use your own equipment and your own staff, and there'd be someone from UMG supervising the installation. And I think, and I'll offer this too, we would like to be there too, one of our guys, to help with the oversight. That's kind of standard affair for us.
If the license that Marley is taking the test for this Friday, would his license cover the inspection and maintenance, that he can handle the maintenance agreement?
Judge, what I can find out through some people that's done some studying on the fusion that's going to possibly go in over in the Majestic area, this maintenance is going to be, they'll come by and check it about twice a year. And if the system goes down, then they are responsible for paying for a new system. Is that right, Zora?
Zora, would you come around to the microphone, please?
Should I stay up here at this point?
The maintenance agreement would be that if they go out there and there's some problem, they have to correct the problem. That's why we have the maintenance agreement.
I understand.
If the system goes out, then they are responsible for replacing a new one in there.
What they will be responsible is replacing whatever goes down to fix it. Yes. But it won't need a whole new system because this system will last.
Well, what I'm saying is I guess they'll have grinders and pumps and all that. It'll be a maintenance system, sort of like what they're doing now for the customers that are on the city sewage at UMG. They have a certain amount of money they pay each month, and then if the system goes down, then they come out and they repair it at no cost to the customer.
Yes.
Would it be cheaper?
If somebody else would do the inspection, their warranty might not be enforced.
Judge, I had a question for Mr. Combs. Is that correct?
Sure.
Would it be cheaper, in reference to what Mr. Harris said, if the county were to buy the systems themselves? I mean, is there a markup?
Well, let me say this. There is a markup, yeah. The way that we sell is we go through distribution only. We don't sell direct to the end user. That's our model, our business model. So we would sell through a distributor no matter, how the county ended up getting it. It would still go through a distributor who was set up as an on-site or a fusion distributor.
Are you saying the county couldn't purchase the system? Or
No,
they could?
because we would go through a distribution. Yeah, that's just our model, how we do it. And what that does is helps us promote business because these are the people that we work with know on-site components, and they're the people that help us to get the business. So, yeah, we don't sell to the end user, typically.
I understand you're saying you do not sell directly to individuals.
Right, exactly.
I understand.
Yeah, so it's not anything against the fiscal court here. It's just the way that our business model. Yeah, and you'll find all manufacturers are pretty well like this as far as wastewater treatment. That's how they do it. They link with distributors that know the on-site business, and that's how they promote their product.
Are there any other questions?
Judge, I would just like to point out, because I've been semi-involved in this for some time now, and the $3,000 a month contract we currently have with Mountain Water is approximately $600 a month that we're paying for each facility, and Mountain Water was renegotiating for $4,000 a month for about $800 per facility. So in my opinion, I can't give an opinion about the cost of this unit, but the $50 per month maintenance, particularly if it includes replacing parts, is a bargain compared to what we're paying now. Now, whether it's a bargain in reality, I don't know, but compared to what we're paying now, it is a real bargain.
If I could just speak to maintenance quickly, these units have really one part that moves, and that's a linear air diaphragm compressor, and that's really it. So maintenance costs as far as replacement parts are almost nothing. They should last about 8 to 10 years and cost probably $500 to $600 to replace one if you have to fully replace it. They're rebuildable also, so the cost can come down on that. But there's not really anything else to go wrong with them. They're not like a full-scale municipal plant where you have many expensive pumps on them. You talked about grinders a minute ago. We don't use grinders in septic systems because they chew up everything so fine that they interfere with the treatment process. So with the fusion anyway, there's just not much to do in terms of maintenance. You're usually looking at about a 30 to 45-minute visit once you get out to the site to do a full maintenance every 6 months. Okay.
I'm glad you were here today. We're getting ready to negotiate, I guess, with the customers in the area that I represent.
Are you in Majestic?
Majestic,
Okay.
that's where I live, and me and Zora and the health department and some people have been trying to figure out a reasonable rate that the people should pay each month. I understand this system goes on their property, and there's no main lines or no maintenance other than getting it installed. Is that correct?
That's it, really. You know, every 6 months you're out to look at it, and there's a series of things. We have a check sheet that we go through, and we teach the maintenance provider how to do that. And then they also send that into us, and we enter it into our computer system and keep up with every system that we sell that way.
And the big question that we had was, how much are the customers going to have to pay? Because this is new. It's just coming out. And Zora, I don't know if y'all have ever come up with a figure that we could tell the people what they will be obligated to pay each month, or are we still negotiating with Mountain Water and UMG on the price that they'll be charged?
Yes, the fee that they will be charged is
Come over to microphone, please.
the fee that the customers will be charged in Majestic is entirely up to UMG Mountain Water. The health department has nothing to do with that. We only just go in there and make sure what system, how much lateral bed we can put in for each home. But we have no control over what the person will be paying fee to Mountain Water.
I know this $50 that Roland said was a good deal. It might be for the county, but we've got people that out in the county that would be a pretty steep price for them to pay $50 each month. And with the maintenance, you said that it required and maybe every 8 years replace a $600 item. I'm hoping that UMG and Mountain Water can come up with a little reasonable rate to tell the people they'll be obligated to pay each month, because this is going to be something we've got to sell to the customers. You know, it's a well-needed project. We've got so many straight pipes, and the water is really terrible over in that area, in the creeks and things. And we're hoping that we can get something resolved to where we can get this installed. I understand there's money's already been made available for this project. And getting back to what Magistrate Harris asked you, we just can't buy this system from you right now, the fiscal court. Is that right?
No, that's unfortunately, again, our model is. I mean, I'll speak to the office. Can I leave it at that and talk to the boss about it? But typically, we don't do that, just as a business model. So
the reason I'm asking this question, you know, we're looking at a timeline that we've got to do something.
Right.
And if we can't buy it, we might as well face the facts, you know. If we can't buy this system or buy one like it, then we're going to have somebody do it.
Okay. You mean other than going through UMG, in other words?
Well, you know, that was one of the questions that Magistrate Harris had brought up, but we've got other magistrates here and their concerns. I don't know. I'm going to back up and let them have a...
Okay. I totally understand.
Judge Hayes?
Zora, did I understand it to be said at our last meeting that that part of this monthly maintenance was to take water samples each month and to report that to the health department?
Yes, each month or every quarter or 6 months, whenever they do their maintenance, they do a water sample. And the water sample tells us how much fecal coliform is in the sample. And that makes us know if the system is working properly. And that is part of the maintenance agreement. And every 6 months, and also Claris does a water sample. And the health department does an independent water sample. So we usually get 3 samples so we can be sure that the system is working properly.
And that's every quarter, Ms. May?
Yes, we try to do it quarterly.
Okay.
Mr. Combs, I had a question about we were talking, Magistrate Dawson was talking about the rates and how you all determine what you're going to charge. Do you have any idea, or maybe Zora? Yeah, either one. Just
for the maintenance rates?
Like for what the customers are going to pay.
Customers' rates.
Okay. Well, I can give you ideas of what other areas charge. That's one thing I could do, but I think there needs to be a due diligence given to that exercise and look hard at what the maintenance cost should be. It's not difficult to go through and itemize everything that has to be done over, a year or a 5-year period or even a 10-year period. And that is something that should be done.
you know.
Do you have any recommendations that you could, I mean, any figures you could give us today?
Well, I can give you some that I know of in other areas. I see anywhere from probably about 30 to maybe $50 per month is a good average. And some of those
Are those figures based on areas in Kentucky or?
I see that across pretty well everywhere we work in other states also. You get into some areas where it's higher labor, like maybe Louisville area, just to use an example, then the rates will tend to go up a little bit, as compared to some areas that are not as, you know, higher priced in terms of labor.
What you're saying, every area is different?
Every area is going to be a bit different.
You do diligence, and then you come up with a price?
But you really...
Mr. Hatcher.
In our meetings with them, to let you know, somebody might have forgotten, if the tanks need to be pumped, that's part of the agreement too. When they come out and check them, the way I understand the meeting was, they come out, check them.
Okay.
If the fusion thing is stopped up, it has to be cleaned, or if the tank is overfilled, they have to pump that. So that's part of the maintenance agreement also.
That's a good thing. The numbers that I just threw out at you are excluding maintenance. Most people, what they do is, because they don't know when the fusion and or any tanks associated with it will need to be pumped, because it's variable depending on the owner. That'll be in addition to the number I gave you on an as-need basis, and that's billed back to the customer. So if they're including that, then that's a nice line.
How often does the tanks have to be pumped?
Well, that's a good question. I get that a lot. What we see in 10 that we monitor closely around our office in Louisville area, which goes out about 45 miles there, over in Shelby County and some of the areas, we see that about every 4 years or so, we're needing a pumping. So, but it's really the true answer is it depends on what the people put down the drain and such. You know.
Any other questions?
What on the rate issue? What you said you'd look at other areas. I mean, what variables do they use to? They look at water usage, maybe other items that they incorporate into their
distance to get there is a big deal these days, especially with fuel. So the time it takes and the amount of fuel it takes to get there is variable. How many are in a particular area? Density. You know, if there's a lot in a particular area, then they can usually charge less because they're there and they can hit a number of them. If there's one located way out and it's just one trip out there, then sometimes it might be more for that site. And then again, labor costs are different depending on where you are, you know. So those are the two main variables.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Any other questions? If not, I'll make the motion that we move forward, and the motion also contains to have the county attorney's office to get with the attorney for the water district and get the treatment plants back in Pike County's name. Am I correct, Mr. County Attorney, that you will need that authorization under the letter from the attorney?
Yes, Judge, there is an agreement transferring them back to us, and so...
and it authorizes us to move forward with this project since the money's available for it, and I think we're blessed to have the cooperation of Mr. Hopkins and his staff at the health department to help us and be available to meet with us and to work through this problem.
Judge, I'm glad you mentioned Mr. Hopkins. Paul Hopkins came to the meeting yesterday along with Zora May, so that's how much cooperation that we did get. I just want to mention him.
We have
Judge, could I ask one more question?
One more question.
Zora, are you going to approve this if it gets put in? Okay. I wanted you on the record. I didn't want to put it in and then get a big no.
You've got that in your packet also, what her...
Have a motion, have a second? Have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Master Anderson?
Yes. Now, are we going to look, is Mr. Combs going to look into the possibility that the court may be able to buy those systems in the future?
He said he would have to talk to their counsel.
Their counsel.
Their
Okay.
counsel, and he would have to talk to them, and the county attorney said, we don't know what's in their contract.
Right.
Or it's 1 year, 5 years, or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I'll vote yes.
Yes, we will ask those questions, Magistrate Anderson.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to explain my vote. I just don't think that it's good practice to do business with entities that you don't trust. I'm not speaking of your company individually, Mr. Combs, but UMG, we've learned our lesson with them before, and I just don't think it's a good idea to get back into doing business with them. So I vote no.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. The other thing that we had the special meeting for, last week, I think Magistrate Harris asked a question, have we heard anything on the rural and municipal aid program? Well, we had not. We went in and opened the mail-up hatch, and there it was. So I called Magistrate Harris after he got back to his office and said, you asked a question, but we hadn't opened the mail. So that's the reason that we are moving forward with doing it at this meeting. And Hatch, I think you are carrying this today to the Transportation Cabinet, to Mr. Ennis, so that that can be walked through and approved and be done this before snow falls, while the plane is still open. Am I correct? Any questions or statement in regard to municipal aid program? If not, I'll have a motion. Motion authorize the county judge executive to sign the document and submit. Have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Okay. We have awarding of bids that's on the agenda. We don't have any today. We have any magistrate's road work?
No, let's put that off till Tuesday.
Magistrate's comments?
I don't have any comments, Judge.
Magistrate Johnson?
I don't want to bring this up in court about my snow truck. I talked to John about it there a while ago about buying the truck there and everything, you know. And she says it. Well, tell her what you said to me, John, today.
We got clarification from Amy Barnes with Department for Local Government that trucks equipped with snowplows and salt spreaders can be used against the magisterial infrastructure money, because we had thought we were limited to just blacktop, drain tiles, structural steel, things that were tangible and not salt, gravel, things like that we can't use through the magisterial infrastructure, but we can use equipment of that nature.
I don't think we need court action to do that. I'll just move forward with it. Fine, that's fine. That's fine, it's under price contract. Yeah. Magistrate Murphy.
Nothing this time.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Hillman Dotson. Hillman, we had a great day yesterday. It took about 3.5 years of Hillman pushing and Terry Hall pushing, and the Virginia legislature meeting in regular session and passing legislation to spend Virginian money in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we finally got it through. We had, in that time, we had a murder. We had court issues and a little bit of dispute between the heirs of the property. And finally, Mr. Dotson, I know it was a great day for you to see those 88 families have proper access out of a hollow. Go right ahead.
Judge, how many years has this been going on with this thing here? I can remember. I mean, you've been around here a pretty good while. You've been working on that for years, ain't you?
Chick, them people have sort of been held hostage up in the little holler there for, I believe they said, for close to 100 years. They started building homes in that place. And every time the creek would get up, they would be blocked in. They couldn't get out. And the people there spend their money in Kentucky. You know, they don't have any other way of getting out except coming into Kentucky. And I grew up with them and knew them. You know, over there we don't look at Virginia and Kentucky. We just look at neighborhoods. And the property dispute judge was with some good friends I had there too. And, you know, I hate that it came down to the situation we were in. And the people really appreciate it, and you know, I don't know if anywhere in the state that this has ever been done. I think it would probably be history when you can get Virginia to pay for a Kentucky road.
And I was, Senator Philip Puckett was there yesterday, and Delegate Moorfield, and a representative from the congressman's office, and I mean, it was unbelievable that Terry Hall and Hillman Dotson could bring the people together, that our county attorney's office and everybody that was involved in this project was standing there right on site yesterday. So it was a great day.
Well, you know, Judge, the Lord has blessed us in many ways. He blessed you to be part of the bridge that gaps into this road several
Yesterday
years.
when we crossed that bridge, I said, I can remember when it was fording the creek. There wasn't another bridge. They forded the creek to get across there back when that other bridge was built leading over there. So, Magistrate Dotson, you're right, we have been blessed.
And I'd like to thank Mike for getting a cleanup started, Mike. I know you jumped right on that. And I had a call yesterday from the school board, and they were going to come over today and start cleaning them old houses up in front of the school and getting that where we use our park there. They're going to try to get that all cleaned up. And I have a question for Damus since Zora's here. On our swimming pool, Zora, I guess you've got a report back from your people that the work has been completed on the Johnson Bottom swimming pool. Basically, what, 95%, Damus?
Yeah, we still have to put the water in it and do the circulation test and all that, but yeah, it's about 95.
But we are real pleased. You know, we had to spend a lot of money there, but I think with what we've done, we'll be able to open the pool up come spring if the funds are available, like the other two pools in the county. And I think the guy's done a pretty good job. I'm not a pool man, but looking at the filters, and your people were there to inspect it, and Damus was there, and it looks like they know what they were doing. I think they put 4 big sand filters in, and hopefully, Judge, we'll get that project behind us. I'm just glad we had a little bit of park and recreation money that we can spend on that, which was cold service money, wasn't it, John, that we were able to use for that and maybe get that thing going. But I would like to, Damus, to make sure that this thing is in operation for 2 or 3 weeks before we pay the final payment on it, to make sure this thing is working right and doing what it's supposed to do. Is that possible?
He's supposed to call me when he's got everything done to where we can start filling the pool. From there, we'll know when it gets circulation and everything, yeah. We can do that, it's no problem.
Master Dotson, you had requested, and I agreed, security has been a big issue over at Intergenerational Center in that pool, as you know. And we finally got one camera up, and as a result of that one camera being there, we were able to nab one thief over there. But you had requested at least 2 more to give that adequate coverage. I've assigned that project to Doug, and Doug has gotten with CJ. I don't know where he is on it, but what I'm wondering, do we need some additional lighting over there to make that security work well?
I would say that would help, wouldn't it, Damus, if we had some lighting around the swimming pool area there and get the vine cut back off the fence where we could see more activities from the camera. Right now we've got that old, I guess you call it a kudzu vine that grows up over the fences, and it's hard to get it done away with. And maybe this winter we might be able to go in there and do something with that.
Yes.
Damus, you will take a look at the lighting situation over there. We're going to put 3 good cameras around there, and folks will know they're there. We had to do that up at Ford Mountain, where our fuel got stolen, as you know. And if we can keep the thieves from stealing their cameras, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, or shooting them out.
Judge, that's all I have, and I just want to thank all their employees and the court for some good things are happening. You know, we get in a rut sometimes when we want to see it happen, but it just don't happen overnight. Thank you.
Magistrate Harris.
Judge, I want to thank Damus and his crew. At the last court meeting, I brought up those caps over the sewer treatment plant, or the septic tanks there at Black Gym, and you all got the covers put on those, and I think they're at a grade now where the mowers can run over them and not tear them up or anything, so I appreciate you doing that. That's going to save some twisted ankles and maybe some more severe injuries. I appreciate that. Since you did such a good job with that, I was going to ask you for one more thing. We've got some fence line that's down, fencing at Black Gym Park, the container where the fencing around where we have our dumpster, evidently one of the trucks backed into it and bent it, and it won't close now. So it stays open, and we're getting a lot of people come just dumping stuff in it that it's not park garbage. So if you don't care to look into that, or maybe Mike too, if you just, I think it just needs, the main bar needs to be replaced that goes there. And there's also some fencing problems at Hardy.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
At Rogers Park too, the fence is down, and I worry that, especially at Hardy, that it's around that concession stand, I worry some kids may get out and end up in the road or something, so I'd appreciate if you all try to get those back up.
Okay.
Thank you. The other thing, Judge, is the roads to be brought into the road system. We haven't done that in some time, and I know I'd submitted a couple petitions for roads that I want to work on, but I can't work on until they get brought into the system. So I guess I'd like to know where we're at in that process.
I've got quite a few that you magistrates have given me. Now, with the budget situation that I feel we're in, I've kind of held back for a while because, we're having trouble in each district. There's not a one of you that I feel your budget is not, it scares me that we can maintain. I know people are on you all and they say they brought them in. Hillman's called me, Kenneth, but now, unless you specifically tell me, I want this in, I've put a hold on it because we can't maintain what we got right now the way I feel about it. Now, we might need to discuss this and you tell me, but if you definitely want, and you can talk to me and you and your road foremen can talk, we're having problems out here in this
You got
county.
a road that's emergency, you need to get with Hatch and tell him, and then we get it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, I wouldn't consider them an emergency, but I wouldn't have submitted them to the court if I didn't think they were,
Okay.
roads that should be brought in. And, fix them. I don't think just because you bring a county road into the system, it has to be blacktopped or anything like that.
Well, that's what we tell the people, but when they fill those petitions out, they think he's going to blacktop it just as soon as we say yes. And, I explain it to them when I go out and talk to them. Look, just because we're putting your road in the road system doesn't mean it's going to be blacktop.
Yeah, I try to make that clear to them as well.
Okay.
Is that something we can do maybe at the next meeting? Have a first reading of the roads that have been turned in?
That'd be fine with me. I mean,
I think I've got one or two as well. Because if we have a first reading, the first, then a second reading, the 15th or 16th, that'll give us about a week or 2 weeks at the most before the blacktop plant closes, if we do end up blacktopping. But at least it gives us the leeway to do, work on it.
Are there any that will be blacktopped if it's on the list, if it's in the system?
I think I may have one. It's a very small road, but
Hatch, I say we need to go ahead and approve. If you got one that needs to be blacktop before winter.
Yeah, I'll just get them, and I'll find out which one you're particular and inspect it. We'll have first reading.
Mr. County Attorney.
If I'm getting a consensus of the court, I think Commissioner Hatcher could have the ordinance prepared and have a first reading Tuesday, probably.
Well, after they're inspected, I mean, that's the
Oh, have
process.
they
is
done
we
motion
submit
and
we submit the applications,
Oh,
and
okay.
then the road commissioner goes out and inspects them to make sure that they're qualified.
Oh, I
And-
didn't realize he hadn't inspected them.
And if
Yes,
they're,
you know, there's a lot of times that I have to inspect them because, you know, people want their roads fixed, but sometimes they're unbearable to fix because they're either solid rock, you can't pull ditch lines, you know.
I'd
And
say you better
then I'll
shoot for the
recommend it to the
second
magistrates.
meeting in November then.
Second meeting in November be sufficient,
Yes.
Commissioner?
But the second meeting's gonna put us past the blacktop season.
Well, you don't have but one. They said that's on the blacktopping list, so you need to get it, and bring it the next meeting, put it on
Okay.
the agenda.
Does that give us enough time?
Yeah, give you enough time. This will be next week.
Well, the plant, you know, everybody thinks the plant's gonna shut down. Usually it shuts down the week the week right at Thanksgiving. But now, I've been told as long as the weather's permitting, Mountain's gonna keep the blacktop plant open just as much as they can.
Last year, we went almost in the first year, didn't
We sure did. And they are needing the work. That's why I'm getting this down to Frankfurt first thing as soon as the judge signs off on it. And they want the work, we need it, and they're gonna stay open for us.
Ruth told me that one day last week that on this blacktopping thing, that they're gonna use their own crew, the crew she's got, and they're gonna use the Jenkins crew on this blacktop. That come out of Jenkins, and she'll be they're gonna use both plants to blacktop. It's blacktop.
Well, yeah, that'd be fine. We had a motion and a second, authorize Hatch. Don't need a motion? Okay, fine, we'll move on. Treasurer's business, you got anything today that you have to take up for
Yes.
the next meeting?
We can go ahead and get started with the first reading of the budget amendment. This takes into account any surplus, which was really not surplus, from the 2010-2011 year. We received money that we anticipated in this budget that has to be backed out and fixed, and we put in the $15,000 for the sewage plant and the $40,000 to pay the compactor engine. As of right now, if revenues keep on coming the way they're coming, we'll make it through the end of the year, or end of the fiscal year. Okay.
Mr. County Attorney.
Judge, this is a first reading in summary form of an ordinance relating to fiscal year 2011-2012 annual budget amendment thereof. Whereas the Pike County Fiscal Court has realized unbudgeted receipts from the following funds. Section 1, receipts, total amended revenues of $3,358,350.67. Section B, total amended appropriations of $3,358,350.67. That would be a first reading in summary form. It would have to be duly advertised and then have a second reading.
Madam Treasurer.
Frank Hatcher, can we bring up another bill rolling to pay under additional treasurer's business? Kenneth Prater, for a grader in District 4, $19,999.
Have a motion? Motion and second? Second by Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Magistrate Robinson.
Magistrate Anderson.
Have a roll call vote.
Yeah, what is it we're voting on?
A grader.
How much was it?
$19,999.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Madam Treasurer.
Here's a good deal.
You want me to go ahead and do those? Authorize the pass-through of monies when received for LGDF grant project number A402, Shelby Creek Volunteer Rescue Squad, $1,923.08. Hurricane Creek Volunteer Fire Department, $1,923.08. Hatfield Volunteer Fire Department, $1,923.08. And Gulliner Volunteer Fire Department, $1,923.08, for a total of $7,692.32 to pass it when received.
Have a motion. Have a second by Magistrate Murphy, and have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson. Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Mr. Robinson, Mr. Dodson, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Madam Treasurer. Judge Hayes, we've got a very short list again. Seems like that the economy is the way it is and the budget the way it is. It seems like we don't have many on the list anymore for
Each magistrate
personnel.
should have the personnel matters that we need to bring up. We do not need an executive session, in my opinion. There were 2 posted jobs, Judge. The first a bit unusual. It's a mini packer driver, solid waste area number 3. That's at Robinson Creek. It's a 3H per hour pay rate, but we only had 1 bidder, Randall Bowling. He does meet the qualifications. He is a full-time employee. But you will note on that sheet, he has already bid within the past 12 months. As this court knows, that cross bid within the past 12 months disqualifies him. However, the unusual situation is he's the only bidder. If we don't award the bid, the job goes empty. We need someone in that job. I've consulted with Mr. Case prior to the meeting about this. It's his legal opinion that under those special circumstances, the court, and by the way, I concur fully with his legal opinion on this, that the court can and should award the job to the only bidder. And let me clarify that if there were another bidder, we would not recommend him. We would disqualify him. But so we recommend Randall Bowling as the only employee to bid. The next job, mini packer driver, solid waste area number 1 at Johns Creek, 3H per hour pay rate. This is interesting. We just hired Clyde Sexton on recommendation of Commissioner Lyons back on October the 13th. That's a posted job. That temporary worker was the only one to bid for that job, really unusual. And so we would recommend Clyde Sexton to be hired in that position. Finally, Judge, there's 2 other matters that we need just to acknowledge the resignation of James O. Lyons. As of October 20, 2011, he has found a better job. Good for him. He was a temporary worker as an animal shelter helper. He has submitted his written resignation to us. And finally, we need to fill that position, Judge, so we want approval of the court to transfer Donnie Thacker, Jr. From the Public Works seasonal crew into that temporary position at the animal shelter. That's temporary position to temporary position, so there's no difference in the pay rate. That would be at a 2H pay rate, and that would be effective 10/25/11 to replace Mr. Lyons. That's all we have, Judge.
That is my recommendation and my motion. To have a second? Have a second from Magistrate Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson, Magistrate Johnson, Magistrate Murphy, Magistrate Robinson, Magistrate Dodson, Magistrate Harris, Judge Rutherford.
Yes. That is all on the agenda for the special meeting. So I have a motion to adjourn. Have a motion, Magistrate Murphy. Have a second from Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote.
Magistrate Anderson,